interacting with like media and stuff. And I asked about like what people care about, so I knew what people in my target audience would like. So I asked like my friends who were teenagers because I wanted to appeal to young people. I asked how they spend their time on the internet, what they like doing on the internet, and how they feel about certain things.
Okay.
And one of the big topics I'm trying to cover is about news and media. So I was like, is there too much bad news? How do you feel about this? And this told me that people generally agree with this idea I had for this thing about like negative impacts of media and like the news. And then I tried emailing some people whose films I liked.
Okay.
I did not get replies.
But
I did something else. So I said I wasn't sure if I'd get a reply from them. So I went on Quora, which is like a question asking thing, and then I wrote like all of these, and then I got tons of responses, which was pretty good.
Amazing. Were any of them helpful?
Yes. I asked a lot about some animation things because I want to animate my thing. And I learned a lot about how it's important to have a good animatic, and storyboarding is important, so you get your timing right and don't waste your time, that sort of thing. And then I asked some more questions about like people's interactions with media as well, because that was another theme I wanted to do. I also did some more experimental research, and I just went through like comments from like Instagram where I posted it to be like, what do people generally think of this?
Okay.
And it seems to be good. I asked my sister some questions and I used that. And I asked about how she felt about COVID and the news, and what did I get? What does it tell me about women? It tells me that they care about things that inspire them and interest them, and I'm going to be able to pander to that by making a film that is interesting and using characters that they can relate to.
Amazing. So primary research wise,
yeah,
it seems like, so you identified who your audience were, your audience are, and then started trying to tease out of them what they feel the impact is of media, so positive, negatives.
Yes.
And then you've got some really good feedback from putting out the questions on Quora. I don't even know how to pronounce that.
I don't know how to say it.
About the actual development of your animation. So that was more targeted towards how am I going to approach this project? What do I need to do? And what's going to actually make it effective? So you got that nice kind of range, haven't you? So you're understanding who your audience are and what they might be interested in, what motivates them, and then how am I going to create this animation so I talk to people that are going to be able to give me some feedback. So really good use of primary research.
Thank you.
Excellent. So let's have a look at secondary, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah. I started off looking at lots of like essays and things. So I did, how has COVID impacted people? How does your social media affect your mental health? How does being in a fandom affect you? Because that's about how like you consume media. And why is media, like the news, why is it so bad all the time? And then I learned a lot about that would go towards like how I want to portray the themes and things as such. And then I went into more about like art and stuff.
Okay.
So I was like, what is about colour theory? I want to be able to make it look good. And there's a bit here. And how can I use this colouring and shading in my animations? So I watched a few tutorials and I picked out the bits that would be good and like tried to analyse what it meant. And then I was like, oh, I need to use a good contrast of different colours to show like what bits are most important. So I'll like make it darker around the background and focus it on the character's face. Then I did another essay thing about doom scrolling, which is when you just go on social media all the time when it's bad, you know, and how that is bad for your mental health, and that would help me portray this effect on media of my character. Then I went to some reviews of films on IMDb. I just wanted to know how like animation was perceived, so I did a few like this.
Lovely.
I just went through it and was like, this is the main so like animation is well respected and well reviewed, but the animation alone does not just make it good. It can look good, but it needs a good story, basically is what I got from it. And then I looked at some media that I thought would inspire me, but a bit more. So I did a shot-by-shot analysis of a period drama I liked, and I thought this could help me pick out shots.
Lovely.
Like when I'm storyboarding. So I just went through a scene that was on YouTube, and I was like, oh, these bits establish this and this. And then I did another scene, and I was like, this looks good, like this. So then I thought I could do it for an animation. So I did one by this YouTuber who I found very inspirational. And I just sort of talked about, well, yeah, their film. And then I also did another shot-by-shot analysis of a clip from this anime that I liked. And I put it into like shorter clips. And then I just sort of talked through what happens through that and what I liked about it. And this taught me a bit about like how showing like the characters' faces a lot more like close up, tell you about their facial expressions, and using wider shots to convey things about the scene, like the setting and such. Yeah, that's all for secondary.
Lovely. So again, you've gone down kind of a similar route to your primary. So you've looked at the storytelling, so the actual element you're trying to communicate in your animation. So you're interested in this negative media and the impact that has. So super important for you to really dig deep and understand the impact that can have on a person, so that you can portray that realistically and respectively. But then you need to look at how to actually create an animation. So how am I going to design my shots? How am I going to communicate my story through color, through positioning, through expression? And so doing that shot by shot analysis is really going to help you. I think you've covered, you know, both areas really, really thoroughly, so very well done. And then what about experimentation? Have you managed to do any of that yet?
Yeah, there was actually quite a bit of it, actually.
Oh, excellent.
Okay, oh god, okay. So I went through like what I did in secondary, and then I used that practically, I guess. So I was like, here, I tried to have an idea of like working through colour palettes, so I made a character design, and then I was thinking about how they all work together, and they have meanings and such. And then so and so, I was just like, this is, I made this, and that helped me pick out colours. Then I did some lighting studies. I saw things like this online, so I thought, okay, I'll do my own. So I drew a portrait, and then I just added different lighting.
Amazing.
There's lots of these things. I talk a bit through how I like did it, and some inspiration I found on Pinterest and a mood board. And this taught me a lot about like using different contrasts of colours and colour temperatures, and how these different effects give you vastly different like atmosphere and like a vibe, I guess.
Absolutely.
But, and then I did a little bit more about shading and lighting. I saw this thing on ArtStation. It's like a 3D model that you can add like light to, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I might try make something similar to that. So I did another sketch of a character, and then I just sort of did some like color, like shading from different angles. That taught me a bit more about, well, doing it from different angles, I guess.
Absolutely.
And then I was like, there's different ways to shade things. So I was considering how I might do this in my project. You can do softer shading, which is more painted, which I did on this version, and then the cell shade, which is not blended. So I went through that, and this is like, I did it, and this kind of taught me a bit more, like painting it a bit more takes more time, so I might do a cell shade because that takes some time. And then there was the animation workshop from the careers thing. So I attended this, and then I just made like a quick animation in like the 40 minutes that was on. There's just like a character tilting its head. It was a good practice.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And that just got me practicing a bit more, focusing on like facial expressions, which I enjoyed. And then I was like, I want to experiment with art styles. So I just drew a character in different art styles. So I went through some different like TV shows, and I picked out what was the key features. And then I just sort of did that.
Amazing. And have you decided or settled on an art style that you'd like to go with for your...
I think I'm going to do something that's a bit more of a mix of like this and crap. This is hard. Like this art style, this one and this one.
Okay.
There's something that's a bit more simpler but has like expressive eyes I'd like to do.
Yeah, amazing.
And that's all the research.
That's tons of research. So you've done a really kind of lots and lots of really thorough primary research.
Yeah.
Which obviously is allowing you to understand your audience, allowing you to understand the issue that you want to convey within your product.
Yeah.
You have done tons of secondary research, which has allowed you to get a really good understanding of that issue that you want to represent.
Yeah.
But it's also allowed you to start looking at how to communicate that visually. And then your experimentation's really thorough again. So you're testing out lots of different art styles, testing up lighting, something that can really easily be overlooked, but can communicate so much. And kind of be the thing that may throw you off, make something not really feel very believable if the lighting isn't perfect. So really good thing to experiment with. So all of this, so we've done tons of different stuff. How has that helped you to develop the idea or what it is that you're going to actually make now when we move into the production stages?
Yeah, so a lot of like when I was writing like up the research, I got a load of the ideas then, because it was like, how does this link to your project? So I thought, okay, so what can I use? Like, so when I was doing a lot of like the lighting and stuff, I was like, okay, what sort of moment could I use a contrasting colours in? So it's like, okay, I could have a moment where the character is like sat in the dark scrolling on their phone, something like that. So I have a lot of like story threads sort of like spun out through this research in those like little paragraphs. And then I think I'm just going to collect them all together and then try to string them together to create this story.
Amazing. And so how long do you anticipate that your animation will be from start to finish? Have you got a kind of time frame in mind?
I'm not sure, but I don't think I want it to be like very long.
Yeah.
Possibly like a minute or two, maybe.
And I mean, you've had some experience creating animation, so you know about the time constraints. What software are you going to create this animation in? I think
I'm going to use a mixture of like Photoshop and After Effects, which I want to do for like I think I'll animate the characters. I have an app on my tablet that I use. I'll use that to animate most of it. But for adding like the effects and things, I'll probably do that in Photoshop. And for the like non-character parts, like if I'm animating like the screen or something that I want to show like the media on, I'll probably do that in After Effects.
Okay. So you've got a good plan. So I guess next up is going to be starting to think about storyboarding. So like you said, collating all of those notes that you've been making to solidify what is the story that I'm going to tell to fill this minute or however long, and then storyboarding that before you move on, just so that you've got a really clear plan. But research wise, I think you've done an excellent range of research. It's all been hugely relevant, and you've interpreted every single piece to allow you to develop your understanding. And the experiment